What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 26. My name is Victor Vasquez. Thank you so much for coming back and listening. For anybody new that's coming in, welcome. This podcast, what we try to do is really break down and review a new film that I just watched in theaters. I go over maybe my favorite parts of the movie, what I thought about it overall, what I recommend watching it in theaters or streaming, and then finally deciding, is this movie timeless? Would you ever rewatch it? And so we've kind of done a couple of episodes already episode number 26 different movies that I've reviewed. And for this week now, the newest entry is going to be around Jurassic World Dominion. That's right, the epic conclusion. That's what the trailers have been calling it. The epic conclusion of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World story and franchise, really. So we'll see if that actually sticks. But overall, let's go ahead and try to talk about why I wanted to watch this movie, just to kind of start things off. Okay, let's go over the reasons of why I wanted to really go to theaters and watch this movie. I mean, I have been a big fan of the Jurassic Park series since I was a little kid. One of the first memories I always have is basically thinking that my career or my actual first job was going to be as a paleontologist after watching the Jurassic Park movie. So these movies have really been a big part of my life growing up. I remember watching the first Jurassic Park and just being amazed at how realistic they made the dinosaurs look. Again, just to me and probably a lot of other kids and a lot of other folks that saw the first Jurassic Park movie, it probably blew them away from a visuals perspective. But it was also a really great movie as well. Had a great story. To me, again, that is one of the timeless movies that I have on my list. I always enjoy watching Jurassic Park. Now, talking about the other follow-ups to it, maybe not so much, Lost World. I like that more than most people. Jurassic Park 3, I was okay with that one. And then finally, we have the new entries, which is Jurassic World. I actually thought Jurassic World was really good and a good refresh to kind of bring in new fans. But so far, the last couple of sequels have not been that good. Obviously, with The Fallen Kingdom, I think was the sequel to Jurassic World. It was okay. It didn't really hype me up or excite me that much. Actually, probably the least favorite entry of the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies. All that to really explain in that I love this franchise. I love the entire kind of theme that's been going on about, again, dealing with dinosaurs and how we can continue to live with them, even though we brought them back from being extinct 65 million years ago. And so that, again, I had to finish it off. I had to wrap this entire story up just to see, okay, how would they do it to follow up with what Jurassic Park did and then close out the Jurassic World character story arcs as well. Another reason why I wanted to go watch it was the OG cast members returning. We have Sam Neill, we have Laura Dern, we have Jeff Goldblum, all coming back to appear in the film as their original characters in the first Jurassic Park film. As soon as I heard that they were coming back, I'm like, I'm in. No matter what the story is about, no matter what this entire kind of film might be, if it's good or bad, doesn't matter. I enjoy and I love watching these characters. And again, just making sure that I guess the one worry I had was that I didn't want them to be a cameo appearance. I wanted it to be a full-fledged, make them a part of the story, let them have a big part, maybe let them have a more bigger part than the main characters of Jurassic World if they have to. Again, they were really just a critical part of what made the first Jurassic Park film work so well, their chemistry all together. It was just so cool to watch. So that's what excited me probably the most out of this entire kind of list that I have of wanting to watch Jurassic World Dominion. Another one of the points that I wanted to kind of call out was of really the reason why I wanted to watch it is how would the story end? After Fallen Kingdom, spoiler alert for anybody that did not watch Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, it kind of ended with, there was a chance to basically either wipe out all the dinosaurs or let them continue to live in our world. The decision was made. They let dinosaurs really live and continue to exist. So what would happen in this film? What are they going to be eradicated? Are they not going to be able to get accustomed to our way of living? Or would we be the ones that go extinct for any weird reason? I just was very curious as to understand how they would try to wrap up all of these specific films and all of the different types of connections, and what would happen to those dinosaurs. Again, they went extinct once, or are they going to go extinct again? That's really what I wanted to find out from the film as well. And then last but not least, final reasons why I wanted to watch this film is really the important question that we all have to be asking ourselves is how many times would Owen or anybody else raise their hand in front of a dinosaur? I cannot believe how many times they have shown that in the trailers where you see him basically lifting up his hand. Ever since he did that in Jurassic World, the first film of the new specific entries into the Jurassic franchise, he ended up doing that kind of hand raise to kind of stop Baloo, and now you see him doing it to every single dinosaur. I have a feeling that the directors and the entire crew around the film, they know that it's almost like a joke now to the fans, so maybe they try to include it as many times as possible. But don't you worry, I counted them when I went to go watch it, so I'll give you that number later on as well. But overall, those were the reasons why I wanted to go watch this film in theaters on opening night. All right, everybody, those were my thoughts on, again, why I wanted to watch this film. Let's go into the second segment, which is going over the details and my overall thoughts about Jurassic World Dominion. I was able to see it last Friday in Dolby Cinema. I wanted to get a full-on experience. I wanted the dinosaurs' roars to shake my seat. I wanted to have a big screen in order to kind of see all the different types of actions that would be taking place in this film. Overall, the movie was between okay and good for me. My expectations were pretty low. Again, mentioning it in the first segment, I was kind of left with a bad taste in my mouth after Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I didn't really, like the direction that they went. Hey, that's not taking anything away from the film. Some people may have liked it. I just really didn't get excited after that film came out. And so considering that, I really just, again, came in with very low expectations. I didn't want to hype myself up any further than I should have because, again, I didn't know where the film was going to go, how it was going to end, and how it really was going to wrap up for Owen, who was played by Chris Pratt, and as well as Claire, who was played by Bryce Dallas Howard, how their stories were going to really end. And how they were going to try to bring in the OG characters of it as well. But overall, after watching it, I left the theater, in a good mood. It wasn't anything that blew me away. I can tell you right now, straight up, it is not the best film of the year. It was probably not going to reach that level anyway. There's just too many other great films that have great stories. But this one was an okay time. It just contains a lot of different types of elements that I'll kind of go through. But again, there was nothing too crazy. Everything seemed like it had a very similar beat to the prior Jurassic World or Jurassic Park movies. So again, nothing groundbreaking in this film as well. I wanted to go through a couple of things that I really caught my eye when I was watching the film. I really liked that they introduced a few more dinosaurs in the film. And then they visually looked really awesome. You had a dinosaur that was one of the greatest or the biggest apex predators in the entire Cretaceous period, I guess. It was Gigantosaurus. I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong, but that was really that one dinosaur that you probably see at the trailer that is going to face off against the T-Rex. You see it, where the battle is coming down to that specific face-off between a T-Rex and a Gigantosaurus. So that was really cool that they introduced, again, another dinosaur. They also introduced this one dinosaur that had very much feathers all around it, but it for some reason could go under the water in ice. And so that was crazy that I saw that. Again, not spoiling anything because I think these dinosaurs do come out in the trailer. Again, I just really like the aspect that they continue to introduce different dinosaurs and try to be as accurate as possible, hopefully, to what they think they could have experienced if these dinosaurs were real, right? And we're living in these times, these modern times, whatever this movie takes place. It was just really cool to see. Again, I always like to see the different types of ideas and the different visuals and effects that they can do with these dinosaurs. So it all looked super cool. Now, did it look like as amazing as the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park in 1993? Yeah, maybe they look a little bit visually a little bit more realistic, but I'm still impressed at how the CGI team and the visuals team worked on that original Jurassic Park film because they made every one of those dinosaurs look so damn realistic. Now, granted, they went more with an animatronics approach, so that's why sometimes when you see the T-Rex or you see some of the Dilophosaurus, all those look so real in the original Jurassic Park film. Whereas here, it's all kind of CGI. I could definitely see that may have been some, animatronics. Maybe I would probably have to see the behind the scenes of this film because there's certain times where it looks like there are dinosaurs that may have been used as a good animatronics prop. That way, it just makes the scene even more realistic. But again, I really like that they introduced a couple more dinosaurs into the film as well. Now, I got to talk about this because this is one of the biggest parts of the film, the OG cast. I'm going to call it out right now. This is probably the reason why I actually left in a good mood after this film is because really the best parts were when the OG cast came out. I actually wish they came out even more in the film. I was actually very happy that they had a central arc in the film where they actually had some type of a narrative kind of going for them, and they were at least trying to find a way to kind of figure out their situation. So I really like that they just weren't cameos. They actually had a big part in the film. Again, Laura Dern, Sam Neill, and Jeff Goldblum all reprising their characters from the OG Jurassic Park, and they just played it so well. It's like they just a more mature versions of themselves as well. Again, they had some of the funniest moments in the film as well, some of the best times, just kind of going through it and connecting again. It just felt so cool. It seems like it's almost in recent movies now, we're seeing a lot of the OG characters in prior films kind of come back and meet the new cast. We saw that in No Way Home, where you have the prior Spider-Man, spoiler alert, you have the prior Spider-Man joining and meeting Tom Holland Spider-Man. I don't know if it's a theme that certain movies are doing where they're just kind of trying to reprise those roles, but it worked here, and I'm really glad that they made sense and they included them in the story as well. Now, speaking of the story, again, it was okay. Again, it had that very familiar theme to the other films. What it really kind of delved into is a company is managing the dinosaurs. So again, like I mentioned before, at the end of Fallen Kingdom, the dinosaurs are not eradicated. They're not made to go extinct. Rather, they now live with us in our habitats around the world. And so, as you would expect, a company comes in, a $1 billion company. I think it's called Biosyn. They are now managing the dinosaurs. They have a habitat in the mountains of Italy, I believe, in Europe. And again, by the end of the film, it's basically, can we destroy this habitat and free these dinosaurs so that we can destroy this company that is trying to take over? Very similar to what happens in the prior films, like InGen in The Lost World. And so again, it's always kind of this the battle between not really the dinosaurs and the humans, but it's always between humans and humans, the ones that really want to use these animals or these dinosaurs for sport or for, attractions or entertainment, and the core group of our heroes really in these Jurassic Park films, the people that really want to just kind of free them up and just either not have them around or just not make sure that they're enclosed in a habitat as well. Again, same old stuff, which is again why the film just kind of felt like it was same old to me. Nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. I really don't know, even if you ask me, that's why I'm saying, I really have no clue what other direction they can go to refresh the story. And it's very hard to do that when you're already calling this out as the epic conclusion to the Jurassic World and Jurassic Park franchise as well. So again, just my thoughts, my opinions. I felt like it was an okay story. Nothing too crazy. But again, nothing that will really blow you away to be like, oh man, you can't believe that the twist that we happened here, wasn't really that many of it as well. Also, certain points of the film felt a bit off. I can't really pinpoint what it was, whether it was just like certain decisions that a character made or how a scene was shot, or they kind of film a specific character or actor for a little bit too long, or they didn't really have any dialogue in that specific scene, but they still showed him. It was a little weird, I just didn't feel like a full-on like grade A movie. Again, it just felt like it was some things were off as well. And again, it's just something that really didn't click like the original Jurassic Park film, where you just feel like every scene matters. Like every scene is very important. Like you have Ian Malcolm talking to Dr. Grant, and then you have all these different types of characters interacting. It all just kind of made sense in the original Jurassic Park film. Whereas here, there are scenes that, obviously matter to carry the story along, but there's definitely certain parts where maybe there could have been times where that could have been cut out as well. But as I like to call out, it's also unfair for me to compare the two films from the 1993 original Jurassic Park film and this Jurassic World Dominion. Again, they're completely different films, but it's just so hard, especially when you're in that same franchise and you're dealing with some of the same type of topics, dinosaurs. How can you try to differentiate that? And that's the tough part. Again, I'm not a director, I'm not a producer. That's why, again, I'm really just here to kind of give my opinion. I'm probably way off. Maybe you guys enjoyed the story of it. But again, for me, just felt like it wasn't really anything clicking like the original film. It didn't feel like it was hitting those same, beats. Yes, from the specific story-wise, it felt like we had already seen the story. But again, it wasn't anything that compared to the original film where it just felt like everything was moving nice and flowing very well. I was also expecting something crazy to happen to one of the main characters in the film, or to the dinosaurs in general. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything right now or anything major. I obviously want you guys to enjoy the experience of watching Jurassic World Dominion, but I just feel like there should have been a little bit more of the stakes involved. As sad as it is to say, I was talking to my brother and my sister and my girlfriend when we all went to go watch the movie together, and I was saying, what are the chances that they kill off one of the main characters? What if they kill off Owen or Claire? Or what if they kill off one of the OG characters? How would they, how could they actually have made this to just get us on the edge of our seats and thinking, oh man, are they gonna just bite the dust in this film? Like, well, what's gonna happen? And so, again, I'm not gonna spoil anything for any of you guys that haven't seen it yet, but I wish there was a little bit more stakes involved. Again, it seems like there should have been some type of a tough decision to be made, and yet there wasn't one that was made at the end of the film. It kind of left off exactly where it started. So again, just my thoughts. I wish there was a little bit more of that film that could have made us see like, oh man, this is a tough decision that the main characters have to make. All right, overall, again, I enjoyed the movie. It could have definitely been better. Again, this is just my opinions. There's definitely a lot of different things that I did enjoy. Like I mentioned, the visuals of it. I'm going to later on explain my favorite scene as well. But again, overall, nothing too crazy. Not my favorite film of the years. There's definitely a lot of other films that are way better that I would highly recommend folks to go see. But again, those are my overall thoughts of Jurassic World Dominion. All right, now I want to jump into segment number 3, which is talking about my favorite actor or actress's performance that I really liked. This one is easy for me. I'm going with Laura Dern, who played Dr. Ellie Sattler. She was my favorite performance. At this point in her life, in the story, just to kind of give you guys a brief background on it, she's now divorced from her husband. Her kids are all grown up, so she's basically going back to how she was in the OG film in 1993, which is basically back to her studies and trying to, again, find out specific reasons as to why Biosyn now is managing all these dinosaurs. And so she's really kind of that first character from the OG cast that we get to see, and how she gets to basically come and get right back looped in to these dinosaurs to figure out a way to help them, or really to stop this big organization as well. She was so interesting, and I just, again, really enjoyed how she was able to interact with Sam Neill, who played Dr. Grant, and Jeff Goldblum, who played Ian Malcolm again. They all have such good chemistry with each other, and again, in my opinion, she was really believable in her performance. Without going into too much spoilers, her story arc revolved around uncovering the truth around the big corporation Biosyn Genetics, and how they were really affecting the Earth for the worse. So it was just so cool to see her have a big role to play in the movie, and it just made it interesting how she would play off of other characters in every scene she appeared in, even with the new characters. It just flowed so great. It just made so much sense, again, how she was able to kind of connect with not only our OG characters that we're familiar with, but also with Owen and Claire as well. I really liked it, and so again, it was a great job by Laura Dern. She had, again, a lot of these different types of scenes where she was just trying to find the proper answer, and she was not going to stop until she got it. I also want to throw out an honorable mention to Bryce Dallas Howard, who played Claire in the film. Her story took on more of like the motherly role, as she now cares for her adopted daughter, Maisie Lockwood, played by Isabella Sermon. She showed off some of the great emotion whenever she was in danger, or how committed she was to trying to find and save Maisie. It was just some good stuff. So again, just wanted to give a quick honorable mention to Bryce Dallas Howard. She always puts on such a great performance. But again, my two favorite performances in this film were Bryce Dallas Howard and Laura Dern. All right, everybody. Now I want to jump into segment number 4, which is explaining my favorite scene or moment of the film. Now, this is where I do want to throw out a spoiler warning. Again, I don't want to ruin it for anybody that has not seen Jurassic World. So if you have not, feel free to pause it to like the video so that it gets saved in your library, and then come back when you have seen this film. Okay, hopefully you guys are now out of it if you don't want to get spoiled. But my favorite scene was actually something that was probably very ridiculous to most people. It was very ridiculous to my brother, who called it out as soon as he saw it, but I actually thought it was pretty hilarious. And it was actually a moment in close to the third act where Owen Grady ends up saving Claire from a Dilophosaurus. Now, Claire is trying to find a place to hide, and then all of a sudden a Dilophosaurus comes out of nowhere and is right in front of her. And you already know, if you've seen the OG film, the Dilophosaurus is one of those scary dinosaurs that can spit out acid from its mouth, and it has this like rattlesnake neck that kind of opens up. It is crazy scary. And so it starts doing that. And as soon as it opens up, you think, oh man, here's the stakes. Here's where Claire probably is going to bite the dust and end her story. And then all of a sudden, before the Dilophosaurus opens its mouth, you just see hands grab the mouth of the Dilophosaurus, and it basically stops it from spitting out the acid. And instead, the acid ends up staying in the mouth of Dilophosaurus, and he basically chokes himself to death with his own acid. It was ridiculous how Owen Grady can actually hold the dinosaur's mouth closed. But it was so funny when it happened because it's something that you've never seen before. That, I actually, again, that was one of the highlights for me. It's just so funny, so ridiculous. But, oh man, it was just it's something that you can never guess, but you probably could guess. You're like, hey, Owen Grady is the hero of this story. He can hold the mouth of a Dilophosaurus so that it eats its own acid. But it was a great save. And it was just a funny moment for me. My brother didn't find it funny, but I actually did as well. Also, for anybody that was counting, spoiler alert for you guys as well, Owen Grady ends up raising his hands, and really anybody else in the film. I also counted everybody else, not just Owen Grady, but everybody ended up raising their hands like Owen Grady did 11 times in the film. That's right, guys, 11 times. It's just unbelievable. It's a joke now. And, every time that it came out, I just couldn't help but laugh and look over at my girlfriend and just kind of show her how many times it's happened already. But again, those are my favorite moments of the film for Jurassic World Dominion. All right, everybody, segment number 5 is, would I recommend watching it in theaters or streaming? I'm going to be honest, I would actually say that you can wait for this one to go to streaming. I went to check it out in Dolby, and again, was looking forward to how the noise of the dinosaurs would sound in the theaters, how the screen would look, how clear everything would be. It was loud, but nothing too crazy. I also didn't think the visuals were anything spectacular on the big screen. It probably wouldn't have made a difference for me to see it in a digital screen. So, again, that's like I mentioned in my detailed thoughts, the movie was good, but not great. So it's not going to change if you go watch it in Dolby or if you watch it in IMAX. So I would actually recommend that you guys just probably wait for it on the streaming service, whichever one that might be. Again, I just don't feel like it's something that's spectacular. Like, you need to go out to theaters and go watch it now. Like a good example is like Top Gun. I think I mentioned this on last week's podcast, but I just felt like Top Gun was, it was just so clean. It was so cool to see the different types of visuals of the jets. And in the Dolby theater, you can just see everything just move and rattle your seat. It just was a great experience overall. And it just elevates everything. It elevates everybody's experience, which is super cool. This one, on the other hand, again, there's nothing that really jumps out at you that kind of like, oh man, like, this one dinosaur roared and my seat shook. Like, that didn't really happen. Again, the story, you can definitely just wait for this because, watching it on the big screen is going to really change that kind of experience. So again, my recommendation, definitely wait for it for a streaming service. All right, everybody, we've gotten to the last segment now of this Timeless Movie podcast, and we are now going to decide, is Jurassic World Dominion a timeless movie? As of today, and as you probably can tell going through the various segments, this is not a timeless movie for me. It just does not do enough to become the best dinosaur movie. And it sucks. Again, especially when you're trying to compare it, you try not to, compare movies to movies because each one should probably have its own merits as well. But again, Jurassic Park set the bar so high and that it remains a timeless movie for me. And it remains probably one of the best and greatest dinosaur movies of all time. Again, like, there's nothing that popped out in this new film that makes me think, yeah, I want to rewatch it so I can experience this scene. Even my favorite scene where, Owen Grady saves the day by holding a Dilophosaurus' mouth. Then that doesn't, I don't really have to go and see that again. And, just don't want to go through that experience, really. And again, I'm not saying that the film is terrible. It is not. There's definitely worse movies that have come out. Again, I just didn't feel like it moved me the way that Jurassic films have before. Certain characters did really great, like Laura Dern and Bryce Dallas Howard, but the story didn't offer anything new or different than what has already been done before. Again, I mentioned this overall in the thoughts segment, and I think a couple of minutes ago, but it's just, again, there's no stakes. Even though it kind of seems like there might be, but in the end of the day, there really was nothing that kind of changed or altered or a big twist in the film. So it kind of just leaves you thinking like, well, we're basically in the same spot as we were before. So again, that's just one of the reasons why I kind of just left me in a mood of like, yeah, it was good. It was okay, but I don't need to really watch this film again. This again could be my fault though, as I probably expected a different movie. But it's just the way I felt after I left the theater. I just felt like I'd seen another dinosaur movie that was trying to be the best it could be and try to live up to that Jurassic Park greatness, and it just couldn't as well. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion. What about you? What did you think about Jurassic World Dominion? Did you like this movie? Did you think it was better than the previous Jurassic World or Jurassic Park entries? Well, let me know down below, guys. I want to hear from you in the comments. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back and listening. This has been another great podcast where we talk about another great movie. In this case, it was Jurassic World Dominion. I don't know why I said great. It wasn't great for me. It was okay. But again, still appreciate you guys coming in and listening. My name has been Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 26 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Look out for next week's episode because we will be talking about the new film, Lightyear. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.